Hey, my friend. Today, we're going to talk about how to move forward in life. Well, duh, I know how to move, right? But why don't we really get the goals we're looking for? Why don't we achieve a goal when we set it? And what happens is that we get stuck in a loop. And there's all kinds of loops. So we can get in a mindset loop where, we have a certain thought that just keeps us moving, but actually in a circular motion, not actually forward. So I wanted to draw you a picture, and I thought, I'm not an artist or anything, but I thought what would be so cool is that you can use your own piece of paper to help somebody else the same way I'm going to help you. I like using simple, easy ways to teach our children, to teach our friends. And, you can just take a napkin and be able to strike a conversation. And a lot of people can hear things differently if they see a picture. So believe me, this is going to be very simple. So what I want you to think of is, here's my stick person. This is the now. This is the past. This is the future, right? So here we are right now. We have all these experiences from the past, and I'm going to kind of draw something like this because it's a lot of times our loops and experiences are what are keeping us from moving forward. So this is our timeline, like that. Okay. So here we are. This is our default. This is where we were in the past. This is where we are right now. And this is exactly where we are going to be in the future. Because this is our default mode, straight line. Our default is getting what we've gotten in the past, what we have now, and what we're going to get in the future. This is actually comfortable for us. And if you're telling me that right here in the now, you are not comfortable, that you may feel anxiety, depression, you're stuck in a loop of not wanting to go to work, you're burned out, you can't even think about the future, right? We get so caught up in just surviving that we can't even dream anymore. We stopped making goals a long time ago because what's the use, right? We can get in such a negative thought pattern that we don't even dream anymore. That saying, this is as good as it gets. Your brain is lying to you. But this is our default mode. And I want to talk to you more about why our default mode, why our brain wants to keep us there. Because our brain, as we've been learning, wants to keep us safe, which means we have to stay the same. So that just doesn't even make any sense. If we stay the same, we're on this default mode. Why does our brain love the default mode? Why? Think about it. By not having to change, we get to stay the same. Any change, even if it's good, makes us feel uncomfortable. And the brain wants to do the same in the past, today, and tomorrow, because the same brings comfort and familiarity. But that is not where growth happens. That's not where dreams happen. That's not where satisfaction happens. When you think of what you've had that's been meaningful and satisfying in your life, it's been work. I think of, a great job, going to college, having children. All these things are satisfying and sacrificing. So I want to point something out, because what we're going to do today is we're going to see where we are right now and where we want to go. And what I wanted to show you is that if we want something different than our default, it's another path. You see that? It's a different path. So I have to go a different way than this default to get something different. If you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same result. So what we want to do is find an alternative approach. And what happens is we need a forward movement. So can you think of anything that's holding you back or keeps you feeling stuck? And I'm going to come back to this picture, but just for now, think of things that keep you stuck. Is there a distraction? Is there a reoccurring thought? Is weight, is physical pain keeping you stuck? Is clutter? Is having a pity party, which I would think of like a reoccurring emotion, can keep me stuck. So just for example, when I am super stressed out at work and I'm realizing that I still have a lot more work to do and not a lot of time, I start feeling like I need something to comfort me. And so I have this, right around 3 o'clock when I start feeling tired, my mind says, why don't you go get a cookie or a piece of candy or something to eat to keep you going, right? I end up getting this repeated urge to want to use sugar or food or caffeine to keep me going, to comfort me. And what happens is I get in this repeated kind of entitlement of I deserve this one thing because fill in the blank. So there could be a reoccurring thoughts, so a bad habit can keep us stuck. Stuck on a word like I should lose weight, or I should not spend so much money when I go shopping. I shouldn't eat cookies, right? So we should on ourselves, and that's another way to be in a loop with the way we talk to ourselves. So our self-talk can actually keep us stuck and in a loop and not going in that forward movement. And so today we're going to talk about what keeps us stuck and the loops that we allow ourselves to get into that keep us right where we are and that hinder us from moving in a forward motion, in a forward direction towards something different. So there's two things, when we're moving, when we're distracted or we're procrastinating, but we're doing something else, we end up using that something else as a way to say, I'm still productive. Even though I should be working, I decided to, play in the garden instead. Not that gardening's bad, it's just I'm getting out of what I really need to do, right? I'm procrastinating, I'm avoiding, I'm in a way checking out, I'm running away from what would really make me feel better and what would really get me in a forward direction moving towards my dream, my goal, something different, right? So I know that emotions can also keep us stuck, right? Like anxiety, the feeling of anxiety, the feeling of depression. This last couple years, because my schedule changed so much with the pandemic, I was noticing that even on my days off, I didn't want to get out of bed. I started getting this kind of stuck in this loop that I would rather stay in bed and that there's like nothing really to get up for. And and then I still started feeling sorry for myself. And it was like this loop that just kind of, if I didn't have, a dire need to like punch the clock at work, then I was like, there's no reason to get up. If I didn't need to take my son to school, then there was no reason to get out of bed. And, that isn't living our highest good. That isn't enjoying life, being lazy really makes us feel powerless and it makes us feel depressed. The less we do, unfortunately, we need a balance, right? So back to looking at what in life is hindering me from moving in a forward motion. So what I want to talk to you about today is why we have loops, become aware of these loops that keep us stuck, and then I want to talk about how to interrupt the loop so that we can move forward to get something different, so that we don't just keep staying in our default mode. Okay, so why we have loops. So loops are comfortable. Our brain loves what is familiar and comforting. The other thing that happens with a loop is that we get to use energy because we're moving in a circular motion, so it feels like we're doing something, which means we're kind of tricking ourselves because we think that energy that we're expending, we believe we're being productive, even though we're walking in a circle. We are not moving towards our destination. We've been fooled, we've been tricked because we're moving, we're just not going where we really want to go. So today I want to help you be aware of these loops that keep us in that forward movement. So one thing that keeps us in a loop is dopamine, because dopamine is released in our brain to help us feel good. And being comfortable feels good. So actually being in this loop feels good. So that's kind of working against us, right? And so that's why I want to bring awareness to this reward system. So our brain wants rewards, and dopamine is a reward. And so, when I have that 3 o'clock, I'm kind of tired and I deserve and I'm entitled to a piece of candy to keep me going, and, it's going to make me feel better. And so this is my loop where I tell myself, I want a treat, I want a reward for continuing on my workday, right? And so I get a hit of dopamine from eating, and it feels good. And then I carry on. And then when I look at my health goals and why I'm not achieving them, I'm like scratching my head, like, well, I mean, I exercise and I eat all these healthy foods, and I can't even see the loop because I just keep seeing that I'm not getting the result. And so it's hard for me to even be aware that there could be a loop. So it feels good, and it doesn't feel good when we do something different, when we interrupt the loop and get out of the loop and start moving towards something. It doesn't feel good in the beginning. So this is really important to write down, I know, I know I'm not the only one that gets a hit off of the familiar and feels comforted by the familiar, right? So what we want to do is be able to notice, these are my behaviors, these are my loops, these are my, like distractions are a way to keep us from moving forward. And I always think like resistance has to show up, right? So we've talked about resistance and how the law of opposition, when we're going somewhere different, there has to be an opposing force. And so we will find these distractions to keep us moving, but in the loop, not moving forward. Okay, so how do I learn how to give myself a dopamine hit or a celebration or a reward for doing something different? So remember, we have these loops, and if we stay in the default, we're just going to keep going in this line and not be able to get anything different. But when I decide right here that I am going to move towards a goal, right? There's a goal here that I'm moving towards. And when I decide to start going down this way, it is going to feel uncomfortable. So my brain, in order to keep moving forward, needs rewards. So let's think about some rewards. So there's this great book out that I absolutely love, and it's called The High Five Habit. So they say, give yourself a high five. Look yourself in the mirror and give yourself a high five. And this is doing a bunch of different things, because when you give yourself a high five, your brain knows from the past what a high five means. And it's a celebration, right? Your brain already knows what it means. You don't have to teach it. So the body language of a high five is a reward. So what I could do in that moment where, I'm tired and I want a cup of coffee, or I want caffeine and sugar and food to keep me going, as a reward, I have to choose something else to be my reward. And what could that be? It could be a high five, like making the choice of, I am not going to eat candy today at 3:00. And then at 3:00, I actually go into the bathroom and look myself in the mirror and say, you didn't eat candy, high five. Dancing is a way to celebrate. To-do lists, I know I'm not the only one, but when I have a to-do list, and let's say I do something that's not on my to-do list, I will write it on my to-do list so I can check it off. So that is a reward system. That makes us feel good to be able to check something off, right? And I have an AM routine and a PM routine where I write things, that I want to do every morning and every evening. And for a while, for whatever reason, I was low energy, and I would go through my AM and PM list, and I wasn't getting very many checks. And I decided to actually make my list easier for me, because it started making me feel not enough. It started making me feel like a negative self-talk, because it's like, oh yeah, you didn't do that, and then you didn't do that, and then I don't have anything to check off. And it was like, okay, time out. Let's go back and find some things. This is also a way to be, grateful. Being grateful can get us out of a negative self-talk loop, right? Because I get in these loops of, see, I told you weren't going to be able to do that. I knew you didn't have enough time. And see, you're right back where you were a month ago. I'll look for evidence about things not really working, right? So here I am, I have this list and I'm going down and nothing is, like I haven't done the things that are on my list and I don't want to do them. Like I literally don't have the energy to do it. So I made my list for this last week. I made my list easier. And I mean, I made it easier. Like I put brushing my teeth on it, making my bed, things that I've already been doing for a while. But it was a way for me to be like, I do a lot of things that are good and that I'm grateful for and that, you know, help me enjoy and help me contribute to a wonderful way of living, right? And so I went back and I made some easier goals for me so that I could reward myself for the things that I could do instead of getting in that loop of negative self-talk of like, see, you don't do anything, which is not true, right? So this way to reward ourselves, you know, some people like putting stickers, some people like to just taking a pause, right? Just pausing and taking a deep breath in. Pause, breathe, believe, right? So just taking a moment after I accomplish something to just take a deep breath in. You know, I think about these loops around not thinking the house is clean enough. You know, I get really bummed out when I feel like I'm working so hard to keep the house clean and then, you know, other members of the family mess it up, right? So it's like I spend all this time cleaning the kitchen and then I walk away and it's messy again. And so it's, instead of being in a loop of no one helps me, it's always going to be like this, I better just get used to it being a mess. You know, to me, though that loop, that thought pattern is really giving me evidence and proof that, you know, my kitchen is never going to be as clean as I want it. But one of my dreams is to have a clean kitchen. And I want my thinking and my emotions to attract and create, you know, a tidy, organized kitchen that's welcoming to come in and use it. You know, use the kitchen to make a healthy meal. You know, part of my dream and my goal is to have healthy food, is to have an environment where I can make that food. And when the kitchen is a mess, I don't want to go in there, you know? And then I don't choose as good of a snack, or you know, it feels like, okay, there's not even a counter to clean, you know, even to make something. So it's like, I'll just put something in the microwave so that I'm not really taking the time I would if the kitchen was open and clean and ready for me, right? So we want to look for evidence every time I go into the kitchen and I wash a dish or I put something away. I try to take a moment, like when I unload the dishwasher. I unload the dishwasher and I tell myself, I'm contributing to my clean kitchen. I'm contributing to a healthy lifestyle. I'm contributing to a tidy household. So I'm just taking a moment to say check. I'm taking a moment to reward, because I don't know about you, but as a mom who's ambitious and has hobbies and all kinds of things going on in her life with her family, it's like I'm doing the dishwasher, but I'm thinking about the laundry downstairs. I'm doing the laundry, I'm thinking about the next thing in the garage I want to conquer. And it's like I'm running around, and I never really reward myself for finishing something. And this can be a loop, because when I'm never able to really be grateful and enjoy and reward myself for what I am doing, my brain starts telling me all the things I'm not doing. So when we're talking about why we have loops because it's comfortable and it's familiar, and it keeps us getting that dopamine hit because it feels good to just do the same thing over and over. But we want an awareness of those loops. Otherwise, we will always be in the default and we will never get to our goals, because it'll look like we're doing a lot, but really we're just moving in a circle. And I'll tell you what, loops create this powerlessness, because being in a loop, it's like, let me tell you the indicators of being stuck. The indicators of being stuck are being, if you're wondering, am I in a loop, or what's going on here? It's like clutter in our house, clutter in our environment, clutter in our car. Tax season is coming up. What's your file look like? Is it cluttered? Is it organized? Is it tidy? That's an indicator there's a loop there. Being in a repeated emotional pattern, like being repeatedly depressed, repeatedly feeling sorry for ourselves. These are loops. These are indicators when we get distracted easily, when we're repeating relationship problems. Do you see how, oh shoot, here I am again. I'm in the same place as before. It's like, it's almost like we're surprised, we're doing the same thing thinking we're going to get a different result. And so how about an unrealistic expectation? So there is this, I often have unrealistic expectations about how I'm going to lose weight, how I'm going to make money, how my relationships should go. It's like I have this unrealistic expectation that, my husband is perfect. And then when something happens, I'm setting myself up to be miserable, and I'm even setting myself up for finding evidence and proof that I'm not really happy in my marriage. And there's always two ways of looking at this. So when I repeatedly find myself in this situation where, oh, this is so annoying, I'm looking for evidence that I don't have a good marriage. And I want to get out of that loop because I want to move forward towards my goal of having a healthy, intimate, vulnerable, fantastic marriage, right? So there's these mantras that I'm gonna we're gonna get into in just a second, but I want to make sure that we know why we have these loops, and being able to spot these indicators. That feeling that you're stuck, the feeling that you're repeating behaviors, and you're like, well, this is familiar. That is a loop. And so we get to have an awareness of where these loops are. So there's when I think about a goal, and I'm here, but I want to be over here. So many times what stops me, the loop that I get into, is a declaration of disbelief. And the declaration of disbelief, or the behavior of disbelief, will keep me in a loop And that belief is actually triggering towards my choice. So if I keep believing that I'm entitled to have that sugar at 3 p.m., that belief is triggering my choice. So every day at 3 p.m., I'm looking for something to eat. And people think when they have a goal that they only have to choose it once. And it's just, it's not true. We have to keep choosing our goals and choosing our beliefs. And the thing is, we can't get to our goal if we have a declaration of disbelief. So if we don't think that we can have a good marriage, if we don't think we can be happy, how the heck are we going to get out? How are we going to get there? So we have to interrupt the loop of disbelief and interrupt the loop of behaviors that represent disbelief. So there's always going to be obstacles that are going to come up. And, you know, I was thinking about how, you know, if you were just feeling kind of blah, like if you were just kind of feeling like, you know, you wake up in the morning and you're just like, if you were going to see like a little temperature gauge of like how happy or how sad you are. Let's say you're like, you know, you're just kind of like in the middle, like blah, like I don't really have anything to do today. I'm just so-so. And so I'm just like kind of moseying around. And then all of a sudden there's a problem. So this problem, I want you to think of this problem like jumping on your head, right? And immediately we see a problem as making our mood go down, right? So it's like, here I am already in a so-so blah mood, and now a problem has jumped on my back. And I'm like, a problem? And, you know, the temperature gauge of like how happy I am plummets down to like the bottom of, you know, my pity party, right? I'm having a pity party. Now my mood is really, you know, really low. And then I get to solve this problem, right? So this problem jumps on my back, my mood goes down, and then I solve the problem and my mood goes up. Because our brain needs reward. It actually gives us purpose to have challenges and problems in our life. It does. I know. It's like we say we don't want any problems, and we think that life would be so much better if there was no problems. But they have done studies and research and proof that the happiest things that happen in our lives, and I'm thinking of like, you know, children, there is sacrifice and challenge and heartache, and yet they are the most satisfying relationships we can have. Even marriage, like marriages have ups and downs, right? Marriages are about problems and solving them together and compromise, right? And that can be a good thing. And when we're going through it, our mind likes to tell us it's a bad thing. And that's a loop right there. So we want to stop these loops that are keeping us stuck and making us feel miserable. And we want to use that momentum to get out of the loop and move forward. So the biggest thing is awareness. Awareness that I'm stuck in this loop and that I see where I want to go and what can I do to move forward. So the awareness is going to be huge because we want to be the designers of our lives. We want to create what we want in our lives. And so, you know, when I think of I'm in a bad mood or I feel stuck, probably the number one thing that you could do is solve a problem, set a goal, or do something on your procrastination list. Everybody should have a procrastination list. Everybody has one. Everybody procrastinates on many different things. But what happens is this momentum starts to build as if you have this one thing you're not doing, make a list of other things you're not doing. And start with the easy first. Because when you get some check marks, like this is exactly why I changed the things that were on my AM PM list to do, because I didn't want to do those things that were on the list, and I was getting stuck. So what I did is I changed it so it was easier, and that created momentum. So then I had the momentum and the rewards of being able to check stuff off my list actually opened my energy to move towards setting another goal and adding something else onto my PM list that was originally on there that I wasn't able to, that I was stuck in, that I couldn't get going with. So this is like an amazing tool. It's how to use that momentum to get us going somewhere different. So this brings me to how we interrupt the loop. So we can interrupt the loop with exercise, because what happens is we have all this energy and we want to spend the energy, but then we spend it going in a circle. So we want to get out of the circle and move forward. And so drinking water, exercise, we want to the high five is definitely a loop interrupter, because it's a reward, but it's also a way to shift our energy. So there's, here's another one. Turn the other cheek. And what I mean by that is turn your cheek to look somewhere else. So it's like if I always walk to the refrigerator, it's like, it's just so natural to open the refrigerator. But if I interrupt the loop and tell myself, walk down the stairs and open the front door, it's doing something different. So instead of walking that direction, I'm going to walk the other direction. So opening ourselves to another perspective, looking another direction, walking another direction. When we drive the same way to work every day, our mind gets complacent. It can get in a loop. And so just by interrupting that pattern of doing the same thing, I dare you to take another route to work tomorrow. I dare you to take a different route to the grocery store. I dare you to go to a different grocery store. I like going to the same grocery store because I know exactly where everything is. That can be a loop. I could be missing out on another great grocery store because I want to just be, kind of blindly going through the grocery store, right? It's like, I think that that's going to be the easier, softer way. But they've actually found that when your brain is bored, it is depressed. So think of that problem jumping on your back and solving it, and your energy and your mood going up. It's creating momentum towards something else. So another loop interrupter is a mantra. So what I have been practicing, and I just say this little mantra. A mantra means you repeat it all day long. It's just anytime I feel irritated and my brain naturally wants to be fault finding, and it's looking for evidence that things are not the way I want them. And so I'll notice, like today, it took me 50 minutes to get to a place that usually takes me 10. And so there was a traffic jam, there was an accident, and I just remember thinking, this is what different feels like. And another mantra that I use is, no one has to be wrong here. So this is something that has helped me in my relationships, right? Because, sometimes I'm looking for a way to blame somebody for the way I feel. And it's easy to dismiss someone else's feelings and make it all about me. And what I realized is I can interrupt the loop by saying, no one has to be wrong here. Now, I used to ask, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Because, wanting to be right can keep us from being happy, especially if we're going to argue and defend that we're right. So I want to encourage you that using a mantra like pause, breathe, believe. Another one is, I am enough, I do enough, I have enough. This is what different feels like. So it's like when I think of, where I am, my default mode, and moving towards something else, when I start moving somewhere different than my default, I am uncomfortable. It does not feel good. It feels different and uncomfortable. So I have to kind of be my cheerleader. I have to give myself a high five. I have to give myself a round of applause. I have to cheer myself on. And the mantra, when I feel that uncomfortableness, when I feel that different, I'll say, this is what different feels like. Because I'm trying to use my body language and my tone to help me just a little bit be okay with being uncomfortable. I'm trying to help my brain get a new neural pathway, a new way of looking at something, so that I can get something different. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Einstein has been given credit for that. Insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. We get to feel different to get something different. And so when I feel uncomfortable, I'll say, this is what different feels like, and I'm getting something different. I am going somewhere different. I am going towards my goal. I am going towards the star. I am leaving the default mode and choosing something different. And I'll tell you what, choice is so empowering. When you choose to do something different, it is empowering. Your brain is excited. It's engaged. So we have to remember why we have the loops, because it's comfortable. An awareness of the loop, which the indicators are feeling stuck, gaining weight, distractions, clutter, repeated emotional, repeated relationship problems, and then repeated emotions. So it's like, I keep feeling depressed, or I keep feeling anxious. If you have panic attacks or chest pain, it's like, that's a loop, and then there's thoughts that get attached to those loops. And so we have to interrupt them then we interrupt the loop with a mantra, with exercise, with water, with turning the other cheek, turning your direction, talking to a friend. We all get to find something to do to engage our brain. And our brain actually likes it after it's like the new norm. Because when you achieve a goal, when you actually get there, you know, our brain is just programmed to get to another goal. And so we have to remember to celebrate and reward ourselves along the way, because it's not about just getting a goal and just achieving something. It's about enjoying our lives. It's about being happy, joyous, and free. I mean, that's what we really want. And so I hope that you heard something today about when you feel stuck, we actually need a problem to be challenged. We need to cross something off our procrastination list, because that's what gives us momentum. That's what gives us forward movement. And that's what we're looking for. So let me know what loops you've been noticing in your life and how you're going to interrupt them. Have a plan. You know, we have to identify what loop we're in, and then have the list of loop interrupters so that we know what we're going to do when it comes up, when we finally see the truth about why we feel stuck. I can't wait to hear about it. And until I see you again, bye-bye.